It is true that action speaks louder than words, and things that we do for good will matter a lot in the future. Let's introspect as well as retrospect. With that, let's continue the concluding part of our talk, The Junk at My Doorstep, with Dr. Hemam Sonia, Deputy Program Manager, Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi. Interviewing her is Kakchingtabam Ritesh Sharma.
In Manipur, we have to wait for the local and urban bodies to come and collect the waste that we usually keep out or the waste that we dispose. So what are the things that we can do individually? What are the roles an individual can take to take care of this kind of disposal system? Or how can you define about this home composting that you mentioned?
I feel that waste is just not a responsibility of the municipality or concerned authority. It has to be even the rightly said in the rule itself. It's the responsibility of the generator. And we are also eating. So, we also generate waste. So even if the municipality, of course, it's their duty to collect segregated waste from the household. But if they are not doing their part, then, as an individual, I feel that, it's all about civic sense. It's all about your duty towards your state or even city to make it clean. So you can do home composting.
Is there any kind of penalization in case if an individual or if a household doesn't take good care of the disposal? Is there any punishment for that? Is there anything like that?
For managing waste, okay, if you talk about any city, urban local bodies, such as, for example, even if you talk about Manipur, Imphal Municipal Corporation, they have to develop or prepare municipal bylaws for solid waste. So they need to have updated solid waste bylaws as per 2016 rule. And in that, you can mention about penalty, fine in case if you're not following segregation, or even if you're burning plastic, you cannot burn waste as such according to the rule. You can be penalized for it. So it's up to the ULB because it differs from city to city what user fee you are taking. If you take user fee, simply means that you have to give some money in order to get the waste collected by the municipality. So the household has to pay user fee. Ideally, that's the situation. But I'm not sure if in Manipur all the household are giving it or not. But ideally, in municipal bylaws, you need to have all this information. That's how the municipal corporation also get their revenue. But there are certain places or certain cities in India or in the world that don't charge user fee just to incentivize the household. For example, I am working in a pilot project in Zanzibar, Tanzania. So there we are doing same decentralized waste management pilot project, and in this 626 household, they're segregating, but we're not charging user fee just because they're doing some extra work to segregate waste. Just to encourage segregation, we are not charging them. For example, even in Manipur, if we charge 50 rupees user fee, so if you're doing a pilot project in any area, you could also, just to incentivize the household for doing extra work, you can exempt that user fee. But ideally, because of user fee, the municipality also get the revenue. So there are various methods in which you can have rules and regulation as per the cities. But yeah, there are penalty and fee which you can mention. For example, in Delhi, the place where I live, it depends from 550 to 100 rupees per month. And for non-segregation, of course, I have told you that the implementation is bad. So they're not collecting charges for that. Composting is not rocket science, okay? It's been there since ages. Like my mom has been doing composting for I don't know how many years now. Even in Manipur itself, we have land where you can put your waste. You are asking me, what as household one can do to manage waste. For example, even if the municipality doesn't come and collect, you as an individual can do something on your own. Like wet waste, you can do composting at home. And how? It's very simple. If you don't have space in Manipur, in Imphal area, there are various online composter. But if you don't want that, you can even use pot. In Hindi, you call matka composting, the clay pot. You need to put your waste under it, or even simply, traditionally, you can even dug up behind your house. There must be some space, right? So you can just dug it up and you can start putting your wet waste there. Wet waste, which means, of course, the food scrap, food peel, and even sometimes you can put the food waste. I'm not asking anyone to waste food. If you can start minimizing, it would be better. But if there is there's still some food left, then you can do composting. I would just give you a brief points on how you can compost. So, for example, in matka composting or even in the pit composting that I was telling you about, you need to put in Manipur. I'm not sure if there is any coconut shell available or not, but ideally you can put the coconut shell on the ground and then you can start putting the food waste, and then you can put like 1 inch food you can put, and then again you can put the horticultural dry leaves. It has to be dry leaf because you have to maintain the ratio of carbon and nitrogen. You can put as much as you want, but if it's a pot, then it has to be 1/4 of the pot, because you have to also mix it. And sometimes what we do is, if you want to fasten the process, you can even put cow dung. Okay, and in the market there are various microbial you call it EM solution, effective microorganism. Even in the market it's available, but cow dung, it's the best. It fastens the process of degradation of the waste. So that's how you can keep it for 30 to 45 days, and your compost would be ready after that. But you need to mix twice a week. But if you have space, then of course you can mix it every day. Mixing, because they also need carbon, they also need air. And people have this myth that composting it smells. Of course it will smell, but then if you have the ratio right, then it will be fine. People should also try to get that myth away, because if you do well, if you maintain the ratio of waste involved, then smell is not an issue. But there are other powder available on the market, because sometimes if you deal with big landfills and people use it, but for a place like Manipur or even household composting, you do not need all those solutions.
Considering the fact that the alarming problem that is arising out of solid waste, what could be the possible outcome of not treating solid waste well? And if it's not managed well, what could be the possible outcome of it?
First of all, it would of course have a various health effect. It will spoil the environment. But most importantly, what I feel is that all this waste can be treated. India, if you talk about it, I would again say segregation is the answer. If you segregate waste, you can turn your waste into resources. Why I am saying this is that even when I talk about composting, we are doing some pilot project in India in Muzaffarpur. So there also we are composting, and we are selling the compost for, compost can be from 5 rupees to 30 rupees. You can sell compost depending on the standard. So that is also well generating, right? Then the recycling waste, if you segregate them properly, if you segregate into stream or whatever stream you want, because for example in Ambikapur, the dry waste has been segregated into 127 categories. Imagine, it depends, and it has a price. If you segregate well, if you do not mix your well, everything has a price. Right. So you can turn your waste into resources. So that is another philosophy that I would like everyone to think, because it's money. And if you can turn waste into money, then so good. So I feel that also it's all about social engineering that I said. People should segregate waste, and it should be like brushing their teeth, because you don't forget to brush your teeth every day. So it's just a matter of 10-15 minutes extra. If you do it like that, then I think our problem of waste can be solved very easily. It is said that source segregation in India is currently 40%. And processing is around only 30%. Imagine if you generate 62 million tons per year and you are processing only 30%, then you are wasting your resources. So I feel it's common sense. Anybody can just think about it. What are we doing about our waste? So all I can say is, we need to reinvent system on how to treat waste management, and the government is doing it. Swachh Bharat Abhiyan is there, but I think that's not enough, because we as an individual need to take a lead. It's our waste, and it might not have an effect now, but we also need to think about our children, our future generation.
You said it's possible in a small area in Kerala, which has taken the initiative. It's all about initiatives as well. People have to realize that. Tell us something, whether we can do such kind of things in our state, the integrated sustainable waste management model, which we heard, and tell us something about the 2 days program that you happen to participate.
A solid waste management rule came out in 2016. It wasn't just this rule that came out in 2016. There are various other 6 rules that came out, including solid waste, which is plastic waste management, e-waste management, biomedical waste management, and construction and demolition waste. So there are 6 waste management rules in the country, which was notified in 2016. And under this rule, it says that the authority need to capacitate their official in terms of waste management rules so that they know and worked upon it. So the one that you've mentioned is a training program organized by Ministry of Housing, Urban Department Manipur and National Productivity Council India. And I was given an opportunity to be the resource person on explaining these rules. I was one of the resource person. There were two more colleagues from my organization who came and spoke about it. It was a 2-day capacity building program on 6 Waste Management Rule 2016, which was attended by various urban local bodies, ministry, not just urban development department, like health department, then councillors of the local areas, and it was attended by more than 400 people. So the main objective of this training was to sensitize all this official on these various rules. That was the main objective, but during these 2 days we were able to discuss about the various provision of waste management rules that I've just mentioned, and apart from the rule we were also able to sensitize them about the best practices on waste management in the country, the status of implementation.
If we have to keep on talking, I think solid waste is a big topic and we can keep on discussing, but we have time constraints. We have to end it here. Before we depart, what would you like to say, keeping into perspective the future that younger generation is likely to have related to the solid waste management?
Well, not just future generation. I would like to tell everyone in the state or even whosoever is listening to what we are talking about, waste management is not just a concerned authorities issue, it is our issue. So we also need to, of course, on the ground we have various rules and regulation, but as an individual, we also need to start thinking from our future generations' perspective. So what I can say is, if you want to manage waste, we need to segregate, because that is the only answer. And if you segregate waste, then your waste can be turned into resources. I would like to also request household not to mix waste, food waste with plastic, because not just it leads to, let's not talk about money, but let's talk about the environment effect that it can lead. Because if you mix waste, you cannot manage it well. And plastic itself take ages. It take over 300 years to degrade. So looking at the scenario in Manipur, I also feel that we need to also stop using all this single-use plastic. And why don't we move back to our older generation, our pupu, our bobo did, using glasses, and we can just, the old system, traditional system is, I feel now, it's the best system. And now I realize when our older people used to say something, sometimes it tends to be right now. I feel that, they're right. And we as an individual needs to also believe that as an individual we need to work on managing waste as brushing our teeth.
So true, and I hope things change and better things happens for the future as well. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for giving time to interact with us. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and hope we get to interact more again in the coming days.
Thank you very much. It has been a huge privilege for me to be able to speak in front of all our listeners, and I would like to thank everyone in All India Radio. And if anyone has issues or questions or queries regarding solid waste or even other part of waste, you can always write to me or even ask Ritesh about my contact number, and I'll be happy to help.
You can share that, or you can give them your email address or something. That would be nice.
Okay, so I would be happy to share my email ID with you. It's Sonia, SONIA .HENAM@cseindia.org. If anyone has a query about waste, be it plastic, e-waste, biomedical, or even construction and demolition waste, you can write to me, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's not forget the 3 mantras: reuse, reduce, and recycle. Today, we will wind up our talk, The Junk at My Doorstep, with Dr. Hemam Sonia, Deputy Program Manager, Center for Science and Environment, New Delhi. Interviewing her was Kakchingtabam Ritesh Sharma. Well, we will meet again next week. Until then, let's keep the surrounding clean.